friends, and welcome from Bulgaria. The last few days, I was on a vacation in Greece, so I had time to, to relax. But not only, I started, to write down a few ideas about my next book. It will be about test automation fundamentals, everything you need to know in order to be a good automation QA. And as a part of it, one of the last chapters will be dedicated to continuous integration and cross-browser testing. This is why, in the past, I did lots of tutorials and courses regarding this. However, as you know, there are new stuff every day that it's happening in our field. So I try to keep up. And today we're going to talk about a really exciting topic that was part of my research, right? So let me share my screen. Let's begin yet another video from our xUnit test C# tutorial for beginners. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because there are lots of really awesome videos by other top speakers as well. Till now, in our xUnit tutorial in C#, we talked about what is xUnit, how to set it up, how to write and use many of its attributes. We talked about test-driven testing, and we're going to create yet another test-driven test today. Also, we looked into more advanced stuff like running tests in parallel and how you can integrate well the cross-browser testing in the xUnit pipeline. But today, as I said, as part of my research, I'm going to talk about a really new exciting stuff, geolocation testing. And in the next video, because we have lots to cover, we're going to talk about yet another cool new stuff in cross-browser testing, performance analysis, or I'm going to show you many new features that you can use basically reuse your Selenium tests for doing performance analysis. But first, what is the geolocation testing? The geolocation testing is to test your website loading from different places around the planet. Usually, by the way, you can check the resources below in the description. I linked this nice article on the LambdaTest blog, which explains the geolocation cross-browser testing. But basically, usually, why we need it, because you need to test your website when it's loading from different locations around the world. Usually, we display different language, currency, location when there is a map. And what else? Also, you have today, I'm going to use this website, gpscoordinates.net, to show you, we're going to, basically the website is detecting automatically where is your location, and it can calculate distances from your place to another. And also, these pop-ups that show up because of the cookies, it's called GDPR policy, and they were basically enforced in Europe because of law of protecting our data. And this is like using the geolocation testing, you need, especially when you are in Europe and you're browsing in different countries, your website, you need to make sure that these pop-ups show up. Otherwise, your company can be, will need to pay a lot of money to the European Union. But anyway, let's see how we can use the power of the cloud to do geolocation testing. We're going to use the LambdaTest platform. First, I want to show you what will be our test case, and in a minute, I will create this automated test in Selenium. First, I will go to real testing. As you can see, I already placed my URL, and when you press start, LambdaTest platform will create a virtual machine for us with the proper browser version and operating system. And as I said, this is our website. When we scroll down, depending on your location, this is really important about the geolocation testing. The next time we'll talk much more about performance testing, but geolocation testing is really important because if your website, for example, is hosted in the United States, like this website, this means that if you loaded from Europe or Asia, this means that probably if it's not using SDN or some other service like that, it may load much slower, and this is why we need to test it. So as you can see right now, when we use the browser experience in LambdaTest, it shows that this virtual machine is hosted in the Netherlands. So part of my test that I will write in a minute will basically we'll need to scroll down because if we go here, if we reload the page, if I copy it, and if I reload it, you will see that the website is saying geolocation on scroll page to load the map. If you don't scroll down, basically the page won't, detect your location. After the location is detected, I want to get this particular here title and get the country. When I get the country, I want to go to distance, to the distance tab. Right now, I will just turn it off, and I will show you here. When I go to distance and I write my location, we are going to get the country, write the capital of this country, for example, Berlin, Germany. And I'm going to click the calculate distance button. So I'm going to create a test-driven test where I'm calculating, for example, from 10 different points, the distance to the capital of Bulgaria, which is Sofia. When I click calculate distance, as you can see, it's measuring the distance. And basically in the test, I want to get this particular label here and verify that the distance is right. But how we can do that? First, again, the LambdaTest platform supports, there is a really nice, again, you will find this in the description below in the resources. There is a really nice doc about Selenium automation capabilities, geolocation testing. If you go, if you scroll down a bit, you will find Selenium automation testing from different geolocations. Basically, you need the capability, geolocation, and you need to place here the code of the country. Here you can find a full list of country codes. You don't need to remember them or find them. Basically, when you go to the capabilities generator, there is a tab here called geolocations. You will find here all of the countries that you saw in the list. And when you change them, basically you can copy the code from here. This is what I did. So let's, I will open the project from last time. I just renamed basically the project to geolocation testing. If you remember, I will make a step back. And today we won't discuss so much about the internals of xUnit, but rather I will create a new, a little bit simpler test. And as a challenge to you, you will have the homework to integrate the current new solution and try to integrate it with the stuff that I showed you the last time. So I will copy, basically, if you remember, we had we tested this to-do app, and we basically, used different web technologies. If you recall, the theory attribute is the attribute in xUnit to create test-driven tests. I will just make a copy of this file here, because we're going, as I said, to do data-driven tests for testing different countries. So I will name it calculate distances tests. Now, for now, I will cut some of the stuff that probably we won't need. I will leave just some of the stuff. Again, as you recall from the last time, we put this into a specialized attribute. For now, we'll just keep it like this. We won't need this cert item. I will leave the validate inner text. We won't need this and this and this. The rest, I will leave it. Now, since we want to be able to open and execute the test for different geolocations and codes, this means that I will rename this test to verify distance. And here, the first thing that I will set will be like this, the name of the country. Let's say that we want first to test for Germany. Then we will need the code. As I said, you can get it from, if we go to the desired capabilities, we need to search for Germany. If you are lazy, you can just write like this, or maybe it's not working, but where it is. Anyway, I know the code. You need to type GE, which comes from Deutschland, which is the German word for Germany. Then the capital of Germany is Berlin. And then I here as a fourth parameter, I will provide the distance between the expected distance between Sofia and Germany. I already checked it. This is the proper the expected distance. And here, of course, we need to provide country codes, the proper parameters, right? String capital and string expected distance. Now, here we can rename the name of the test in LambdaTest, and we can change it to something like verify distance between Bulgaria and the country, like this. All right. Next, we need to navigate to the website. And what else? Now we need to basically, as you know, in the constructor, this is executed every time between each test. However, we want here to provide the new additional capability, which is geolocation, like this. And then you need here to provide the code like D, which is the country code, right? However, we want to change it every time depending on the country. I already created a list of different countries around the world that are supported by LambdaTest. Here is the list. We're going to check South America, Argentina, Australia, Canada for North America, Japan, Taiwan for Asia, Norway for Europe, and South Africa for Africa. basically every continent, right? However, we want to be able to change this code in our initialization logic here. This is why I'm going to move this to a separate method, and I'm going to name this, let's see, I'm going to move it to private void initialize driver. Here I'm going to provide the test name, string country codes. I think this is enough. What else? Yeah, we need to change the WebDriver weight to be not read only. And here we're going to change the country code and the test name where we use that. Yeah, basically we don't need this here, but I'm going to change it with this particular stuff. And the builds, I'm going to name it geolocation testing. Now, again, I'm getting this environmental variables with my private data. You can watch the previous videos for more details about this. Also, as you will see, sometimes it's a little bit different to debug this kind of, tests that are executing in another geolocations, because sometimes the network there is a little bit slower as expected. And we need to make sure that we can analyze everything and figure out why our tests failed. And one way to do it is, again, if you open again this desired capabilities in Selenium doc, you will find here there is an anchor called default Selenium capabilities. And there are many nice here different options that can help you to figure out and to debug. For example, one essential when you not test in production, but against your particular environment, sometimes you don't have HTTPS certificates. This is why it's important to turn this accept SSL certificates to true, also to turn on this unexpected alert behaviors to be always accepted. To be honest, this is not working every time. I'm going to show you different ways. It's not, I think this is a bug in Selenium. What else? And also, if you want to check and test different not server-side validations, you need to turn off your JavaScript, and you can do this using this JavaScript enabled flag. I'm going to use this and set them in my code. And also, there are two other options that I'm going to show you. Basically, you can get them from the capabilities generator that I showed you in a minute. But basically, we will instruct LambdaTest platform to save all of the videos of the test execution so that we can debug them, and also to make screenshots for every particular action that we have so that we can download them later and analyze what happened, which is really nice. And there is one more cool stuff that I figured out that they included in their last release, especially if you are, executing, depending who has access to the platform. You don't want to all of the credentials or sensitive information to be visible in the logs. This is why basically there is a capability to mask sensitive information through Selenium capabilities. This is something really cool that they included in the with this asterisk. It will be replaced in the log, which is really cool. So I'm going to use this as well. I already have it here like this. When you say LambdaTest mask commands, you can place here the username or the password or whatever, and it will be changed to its asterisk. But also every time with this special keyword, set cookies, get cookies, set values, basically when you use the send keys command in Selenium, or when we initialize cookies, all this information will be masked, which is really great. I love it. I didn't know that there is such an option, but during my research, I figured this out. So I think we are ready. We need to call this initialize driver actually before here, before this code here. And I need to provide the test name, and yeah, basically like this. I'm going to use the driver code. Yep, initialize driver. And now when we navigate, yeah, basically I can move, we can move maybe the command for changing the name, or I will leave it there, no matter what it is. Now, we need to write our code. In order to do that, I'm going to debug it here. I need to show you how we can scroll down. If you write and search in Google, I will extend this method here that I showed you before. So I will create a method that it's called private void scroll to visible. One of the solutions that is suggested on the internet of Stack Overflow or similar websites is to first we will try catch it, because sometimes basically Selenium may fail with element not interactable exception. For now, we'll just ignore this. And there are basically two versions. Usually the first version is working most of the times. So I suggest you to try first in your particular case to use it. In our case here, it won't work. So I'm going to show you a workaround that it's working all of the times. The first version, which is the default in WebDriver, is to use the actions, the special actions class we need to add a using to Selenium interactable. Here we need to apply the driver, and then we can use this actions class to move to the elements that we already found before. And basically this will scroll down, and at the end we need to call the perform method. As I said, I tested this on this particular website, and it wasn't working very well every time. So I suggest another approach is to use JavaScript. How we can execute JavaScript in Selenium? Basically, you need to cast the driver directly. You don't have the method. You need to cast it to iJavaScript executor class, and then you will have the execute script method. And as you can see, it accepts the script and then the arguments. Usually when we want to execute a script against a particular iWeb element, basically this is we provide the elements as an argument. So the script for this is the following. This is the JavaScript argument, or basically our element scroll to view. And here, as a second parameter, we need to provide the element. This will scroll down every time to our methods. I will refactor this method here, which we used before for basically waiting for element to appear and then to return it. And then here I will call scroll to visible every time element. And what else? Also, one more thing, I will increase the timeout because for certain locations, you need a little bit longer timeouts. We don't need no more this constructor here. We can directly call the driver quit into the finally clause here, the final statement. And next, we are ready. First, we need to scroll, to this particular map. I will inspect it, and maybe you can, if you don't know this trick, when you inspect, you have here copy XPath, and as you can see, we have this diff map canvas. So I will copy this XPath, and basically we need just to wait for this, right? So after here, I'll call this map, wait and find elements by XPath. When you copy the XPath from the browser, you need to change the quotes, otherwise this is not buildable. And maybe you can force it by, for example, call assert through map display. I think this is enough. This will scroll to the particular page. One more thing, sometimes the page is loading for a long time, and Selenium is directly searching for the different elements while the page is loading. In order to handle this, part of it, in the third chapter in my book for design patterns for high quality automated tests, I explained how we can use again JavaScript for waiting for page to load, and then to wait for all of the AJAX requests to finish. You can download the whole source code for free if you go to Automate the Planet Design Patterns for High Quality Automated Tests. I already copied the code, so I will just explain it to you. Basically, I'm going to create one more private method here. Private void wait. I will call this wait until page loads completely. Now, again, we will need the JavaScript executor again. So I will just cast the driver again. And the first script will wait for the page. Basically, where we will use the WebDriver wait until method. Here we are providing anonymous method, and this will be executed every time for the particular timeout. In our case, this will be every for 90 seconds. This will be executed every second until it's true or the test will fail. And actually, we're executing this script, returning whether the document is in ready state, and we're checking whether it's complete or not. This will wait until the page is locked. As I said, however, many modern websites are using, AJAX requests, Angular, React, whatever. Depending on the technology, the approach is different. In our case, these particular developers use AJAX. So here, in order to wait for all the AJAX requests to finish, you need to, as you know, jQuery is one JavaScript library really popular. We can execute this return jQuery active, and we need to wait until all of the requests have finished. So we can use this here to wait for the page to load completely. And after that, we need to basically get the address title. In order to get the address title, let me go again to the website. We can expect it. We can get this by ID, right? So I will get this address title in my tests here. And after that, I want from this title to get only the last part here, the Bulgaria. So I need to split it by comma and get only the last part. And then concatenated it with the particular capital of this country. In our case, this will be Berlin, then Buenos Aires, whatever, right? So in order to do that, I will create a new variable, address equal to address title, address title dot text. Then I will create a new variable called current address, and then I will use string interpolation. This is the new way in C# to create strings. We put them in these curly brackets, the variables. Basically, these curly brackets inside will basically be replaced. This whole thing will be replaced with the real value of this particular variable up there. And then I will write comma, and here we need the country that we'll get from the last part of this when we split it. In order to be able to split it in C#, there is a method called split by a particular symbol or a string. In our case, we will split by comma, and we can use system link last method to get the as you can see here, this is returning an array of strings. And when I say last, I will get the last cell in this particular array. In our case, this will be the country. So this will be replaced with Berlin. And then here we will get the particular country that was displayed by the website detecting our current location. Next, we need to navigate to the next URL. I'm not going to click the tab, but directly I will go to this URL distance, and let's inspect again what is happening there. First, I need to write the first location here, and then the second, and then click the calculate button and get this particular stuff here. Let's inspect it. As you can see, it's really easy. The input is address 1. I think this was address 2. Yeah, pretty easy ID. For the calculate button, also one more thing. In order this to work, I forgot this. We need to click, in order this to be loaded, we need to click the first get address button. In order to do that, because there, as you can see, there are two buttons, there isn't an ID. And we can try to write the locator ourselves. But maybe let's skip that and check whether it will work or not. In order to get this calculate button here, we can write button, then in these brackets, in order to get the text, and we can get it by text, in this case, calculate distance, equal calculate the distance. Here is the locator, right? So we'll use this particular XPath, and we're going to click the button. And then we need to get this distance here. As you can see, this is just a span with ID equal distance. I'm just going to copy the code directly so that we don't waste time to type it. Again, we're getting the first distance address input by the ID that I showed you, address 1. We write the current address that we generated in the first field. every time afterwards, in the second field that we found by ID, we type Sofia, Bulgaria, because this is our use case. Then by XPath, we are finding the calculate distance button. We click it. Then we get the distance span. This is the result label. And afterwards, we use this validate inner text. I just modified it a little bit because right now it won't display really. If it will just say I couldn't found this particular element, which is not a really good message. This is why I'm going to change it like this. If this fails with WebDriver timeout exception, we're going to throw a new exception. Expected distance was not as expected. And then we're going to show the real distance displayed there, because sometimes there were problems, right? And this is our test, which is really cool. What else? There were some problems. I'm not going to run the test right now so that we don't waste time, but I'm going to show you some stuff. When we execute one test, actually we can do that. Let's just see what is happening. I will rebuild our geolocation tests. I wanted to show you how we can debug and check what is happening in our tests. First, in the LambdaTest platform, you need to go to Automation tab. And as you can see, I run lots of tests while I was preparing the demos. So when we go here to calculate distance tests, as you can see, they were generated for all of my cases, right? One particular case that was failing was Taiwan and Germany. So I'm going to run these two tests. They were failing because there are bugs on the website. And as you can see, geolocation testing appeared because I'm running right now the tests. Really cool thing, and I use it a lot while I was debugging the tests, was that you can connect to the machine while the tests are running, place the debug points, and see what is happening inside this geolocation on this particular machine in Taiwan or in Germany, which is really cool. This is what how I saw many of the bugs, right? I can expand it and we can see what is happening right now. As you can see, the website is much slower than here in my location. Maybe we won't wait for it the whole time. I will just stop it now. I'm going to show you a few of my automation logs from before. For example, for Germany, I already downloaded from here. When you go to logs, you can find all of the Selenium logs with, also here in the, when you go to command, just wait a second because there are too many. When you go to command, because we provided this key here, let me show you. Because we provided visual equal to true, for each particular command, you can view the different screenshots. So you have this visual log, right? And check the different commands here. Then when the test failed, as I showed you the last time, we have particular assertions. This is the particular assertion why my test failed. It's directly logged here in the LambdaTest. Also, when you go to network, because I turn it on like this here, network true, I have all of the different, as you can see, different requests and their data and for how long they took. You can analyze this log here to find out the bottlenecks in the performance of website depending on the different locations. This is quite useful. For example, JavaScript menu often, for example, I had to test this before. is that, for example, the images are not compressed. And you can see this by going to images, and you can see the size. You can analyze also the different responses and requests, because this depends there. And also you can watch, because we turn on the videos, you can watch the whole execution afterwards in the video. But not only that, when you go to metadata, you can download all the screenshots. I already did that. As you can see, this is just for one test. All the different, as you can see here, for Taiwan, there was some bug on the website. For some reason, it detected that Taiwan was in New York. I don't know why, but there was a bug, right? And you can figure this out by looking into the screenshots or in the videos. I'm going to show you one more trick when you watch videos, because sometimes it's not clear what is happening in the test and where the test is actually typing, etc. This is why I'm going to link one of the articles that I wrote before, but it's really cool to be able to see like highlighting across the elements there, so that you are sure what your test is doing. In order to do this highlighting, I'm going to create a new folder here. I'm going to name it utilities. And as part of this utilities, I'm going to create a class that will hold one extension method. The extension method is method that it's static, and you can use it as part of the different types that we're extending. Basically, this last method that we used from link is an extension method to the IEnumerable interface. So I'm going to show you how you can write your own extensions to the iWeb driver. And I'm going to name this element highlighter. And in order to put here extension methods, you need here to mark the class static. We will need to write static method, public static void highlight. And then in order to make it extension method, you need to provide to write the keyword this, then iWeb driver, then iWeb element. Oops. Here on the right element, this is basically will be the element that will highlight int, and I will have two more parameters. Basically, the first will be wait before unhighlighting milliseconds. Basically, this will be the period for how long my element will be highlighted, and then the color to be highlighted. I'm just going to copy paste the code because it's a lot, and I'm going to explain it again. You can find the detailed article about it, but right now I will explain it to you. Also, we'll need a private static variable to the iJavaScript executor, and I need to auto using for this background worker and to the thread sleep. So what we are doing, again, we are casting the JavaScript, basically the driver to the JavaScript executor so that we can execute JavaScript. With the initial request, we're getting the original background of the element so that we can unhighlight it later. Then again, through this JavaScript execute script argument, the way we scroll to visible, we're setting the new color, and then we are returning. In our case, this will be yellow. And then if the weight before unhighlighting is bigger than 0, we are creating a new background worker. This is a special class. You can find it in the MSDN. This is the official Microsoft documentation for .NET, where this background worker is many times often in. It's usually used in desktop applications such as, for example, this calculator app or Word or similar desktop applications, right? It's helped to create new process and execute some code there, so that it's not in the main thread. And through this do work event handler, basically we're saying execute this and run it in the background. And the thing that I'm doing here is that we're waiting for the mentioned milliseconds here, 100 milliseconds, and then we're returning to the original border, to the original background. This is how we unhighlight the element. Pretty straightforward. You can download the source code from the description. How we can use this? Well, it's really nice because we can just here inside our wait and find element method. Here we can type element dot highlight. In order to use extension methods, of course, we need to include the using, or we can just type it into the default namespace. And actually, first for the driver, underscore driver highlights. And here we need to provide the element that we found. That's it. Of course, since we use default parameters, as you can see, we are not obligated anymore to provide them, but if you want, you can still change them. And now when you execute your test in LambdaTest, you'll see that when we execute the test, everything is highlighted, which is really cool. Let me show you. For example, for Canada, I think the tests were passing really fast. Yeah, here it is. Let me run the test for Canada. I can go to automation. New data is available. It's executing. Let me connect. I hope that the test isn't executed yet. Fetching data. Let's see what will happen. Anyway, it's really useful because you can see what is happening even after that in the videos, right? As you can see, we are reloading. Yeah, I have two more things to show you. One is related to these pop-ups here that you show, that you see here below. This is the GDPR pop-ups that I mentioned about the cookies. I'm going to show you how you can close them, because sometimes they're over the top of the content, and it's really annoying. Again, for some countries, the tests are a little bit slower because of the network. So I'm going to stop this, but I'm going to show you how we can close these particular pop-ups. Let me show you. If we start the form in, yeah, here it is, as you saw, this pop-up about the cookies. If you want to close it without clicking the OK button, the major practice in test automation testing is if you go to application, you will see here the cookies of this website, right? When I click OK, and if I refresh the website, you will see that we have this cookie consent dismissed and set to yes. The way we can handle this in our test automation scripts is that here in our test, let me show you. In our test, we can set the cookies. How you can set the cookies, basically, here after we will the URL, I can say driver manage cookies, add cookie, and here I can create a new cookie. I need to provide the name and the value. And then you need to refresh the page in order the cookie to be applied. So you need, for this particular website, you need this cookie consent dismissed yes, and then through the driver navigate, you need to provide a refresh. This will refresh the website. And one last thing, many often, because sometimes from one test you cannot figure out what is the actual speed of your website in the particular location. You need to repeat the test a few times, 10 times, 20 times, in order to be able to really figure out what is the actual speed. In order to do that, if you recall from our first videos, we create this retry attribute. In xUnit, we have a similar attribute for repeating the test a few times to see what will happen. It's really nice sometimes when you create a new test to set this attribute without checking the code to your source control, but just retrying it 10 times, 20 times to see whether the test is stable or not, then remove the attribute to checking the code. In our case here, you can retry the test, for example, for Germany 20 times and see the actual speed, like you can get the average, right? If you're using the geolocation testing for performance. So, however, xUnit doesn't have anything like that, but if we look into the retry logic, if you recall these custom attributes, basically we created this retry test case, and maybe we can modify it to create such a retry fact. As you know, the fact is basically a single test. And instead of this, statement condition here, where we check the max retries, we can, I already created such a test, so I'm going to show you. I'm going to create this retry repeat, and I'm just going to copy it and explain it to you. So the thing that I did, again, we have this, I just changed the namespace. Here, everything is the same. Basically, I just renamed the files to repeat instead of retry. The only difference between the retry and the repeat is here that except here right now, instead of having let's see it, max retries, we have times to repeat, and we have, as I said, we change here the this if condition, where we check the run counts, whether it's greater or equal to times to repeat. If yes, we're repeating, we will repeat the test in this while condition. The way you can use it is to, I already modified one test, so I'm just going to show it to you. I already modified the test for Germany. So in our distance, calculate distance tests, now I'm going to use this repeat fact attribute. Initialize driver. Basically, I modified it a little bit. As you see, we are not using this data-driven approach, but we are just using the repeat fact times to repeat here, right? And this thing will repeat this particular test 4 times or as many times as you put here. As a challenge to you, I encourage you to try. If you recall from last time, we used this browser attribute and the driver fixture. So I encourage you to try to do the same customization about here, about the theory, so that you do the same run theory test case and modify it a little bit. Just try to do the same with the repeat. And also try to modify the tests for the calculation to use this our last time attributes, right? I just wanted to make this particular examples a little bit simpler for you so that you're not got confused. And yeah, you can download the full source code below. So we discussed this really exciting feature about geolocation testing. The next time we will talk about performance analysis, how we can use the power of different metrics that LambdaTest can generate for you using the Google Lighthouse, and also how we can modify the speed of the network in combination with this geolocation to check the speed of your websites. It will be really exciting. Also, don't forget, if you have any questions, the blog of LambdaTest is really awesome. You can write always to support. I already did a few times when I had problems, and they immediately respond during the chat. And yeah, also don't forget to get certification about Selenium. So, see you next time. Bye.